Welcome to Read and Learn English, the place where we share inspiring true stories that help you improve your English and learn about the amazing people who make our world a better place. Today, I want to tell you about someone you've probably never heard of. Yet his work has touched the lives of millions of people every single day. Do you know who built the world's biggest encyclopedia, Wikipedia? Every time you search for information on Google, you probably see a Wikipedia link near the top. We all click it. We read it. We trust it. It's our go-to source for quick facts, for school projects, and for learning about almost anything, from history and science to movies and music. But have you ever stopped to wonder who actually writes all those articles? Who keeps updating them, checking facts, and improving them every day? What if I told you that one man has written and edited millions of those articles, and he's been doing it for free? No salary, no fame, and no company behind him, just passion, curiosity, and a belief that knowledge should belong to everyone. His name is Steven Pruitt, and he's one of the most influential people on the entire internet, even though you've probably never seen his face or heard his name before. In a world full of influencers, celebrities, and billionaires, Steven stands out for a completely different reason. He's what we call an unsung hero. Someone who does great things quietly, without expecting reward or recognition. While many people chase likes and followers, Steven has spent years doing something far more meaningful, building and improving the world's largest collection of free human knowledge. He's not a tech genius or a Silicon Valley millionaire. In fact, Steven lives a simple life in Virginia, USA, where he works as a government employee. During the day, he helps organize historical records for the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Office. But when he gets home, he becomes something else. A digital hero working under his online name, Ser Amantio di Nicolao. That's when he logs in to Wikipedia and starts editing, writing, and sharing knowledge with the world. Imagine this. While most people spend their evenings watching movies or scrolling through social media, Steven is editing history, correcting facts, and creating new articles for millions of readers. He's made over 6 million edits and written more than 35,000 original articles. That's more than any other person in Wikipedia's history. Why does he do it? Because he believes that knowledge should be free. Because he loves history, and because he wants to make sure that everyone, no matter who they are or where they live, can learn something new every day. Steven Pruitt may not be famous, but he is a symbol of quiet dedication, passion, and generosity. In a noisy world, he reminds us that sometimes the greatest heroes are the ones who work silently, behind the screen, helping us all to read and learn. Who is Steven Pruitt? The ordinary man, behind an extraordinary mission. Who exactly is Steven Pruitt? You might imagine someone who has edited over 6 million Wikipedia pages must be a full-time researcher, a professional historian, or maybe even a famous tech expert surrounded by books, screens, and assistants. But the truth is surprisingly simple. Steven Pruitt is not a celebrity or a millionaire. He's not the CEO of a tech company or a professor at a university. He's just an ordinary man who lives an ordinary life. Yet he's quietly made an extraordinary impact on the world. Steven lives in the U.S. state of Virginia, in a peaceful neighborhood not very different from yours or mine. He wakes up early every morning, gets ready for work, and drives to his office just like millions of others. He doesn't work for a big private company. Instead, he works for the government at the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, part of the Department of Homeland Security. His job is not about chasing criminals or traveling the world. He works in the Records and Documentation Division, helping to manage and organize old archives, letters, and papers. It's quiet work, requiring patience and attention to detail. In many ways, that job fits him perfectly. Steven has always loved history, the stories of people, civilizations, and forgotten moments that shaped who we are today. Ever since he was a child, he spent hours reading about kings and queens, great inventions and discoveries that changed the world. While other kids played outside, Steven was lost in books, learning about ancient Rome or the American Revolution. History became his passion, not just as a subject to study, but as a way to understand humanity itself. That passion never faded. Even after graduating from college, Steven continued reading, researching, and collecting facts. But unlike most people, he didn't want to keep that knowledge to himself. He wanted to share it. And that's where his second life began, his online life as a volunteer editor on Wikipedia. After finishing his day at work, Steven comes home, makes a simple dinner, and sits down at his computer. Instead of watching TV or scrolling through social media, he logs in to Wikipedia. But he doesn't use his real name there. Online, he's known as Ser Amantio di Nicolao. It's a name that sounds mysterious, even poetic. The name actually comes from a small character in Gianni Schicchi, an Italian opera by composer Giacomo Puccini. Steven is a big fan of opera music, and he chose this unusual name as a tribute to something he loves. It's a perfect reflection of his personality, thoughtful, cultured, and quietly creative. When he becomes Ser Amantio di Nicolao, Steven transforms from a government worker into a digital hero. He spends 3 to 4 hours every evening editing Wikipedia pages. Sometimes he stays up late into the night, researching and checking facts, making sure information is accurate and well written. His edits range from small corrections, fixing a date, adjusting a sentence, adding a missing source, to much bigger contributions, like writing entire new articles from scratch. To him, editing Wikipedia isn't just a hobby, it's a mission. Steven believes that knowledge should be free, not locked away in libraries, not hidden behind paywalls, and not limited to people who can afford it. He believes everyone from any corner of the world deserves access to accurate and reliable information. Wikipedia to him is a global classroom, and he is one of its most dedicated teachers. He once said in an interview, "I believe in the power of shared knowledge. When people know more, they understand more, and when they understand more, they can make better decisions." This belief drives him every single day. It's hard to imagine how much he has contributed. Since joining Wikipedia in 2004, Steven has made over 6 million edits, more than anyone else in the platform's history. He has also written more than 35,000 original articles by himself. That means there are tens of thousands of topics, names, and events that exist on Wikipedia today only because Steven took the time to research and write about them. Just think about that for a moment. 6 million edits. If you made one edit every 10 minutes, it would take you more than 100 years to reach that number. Yet Steven has done it in just over 20 years, all while keeping a full-time job and living an ordinary life. His effort is a true symbol of consistency, patience, and passion. At work, Steven's colleagues know that he's interested in history, but many don't realize the scale of what he's achieved. To them, he's simply Steven, a friendly, quiet man with a good sense of humor and a love for the arts. But when he goes home, he becomes one of the most influential editors in the world. His work has reached millions of readers, students, teachers, journalists, and curious minds everywhere. What makes Steven's story so inspiring is how human it is. He's not driven by money or fame. He doesn't have sponsors or followers. He doesn't get paid for any of it. His reward is knowing that someone, somewhere, has learned something new because of his work. In a world where so many people chase recognition, Steven's humility stands out. He's also proof that you don't have to be a genius to make a difference. You just have to care. His story shows that an ordinary person, using their free time and curiosity, can create something truly extraordinary. You don't need special powers, you just need purpose. Sometimes, people ask him why he keeps doing it after all these years. His answer is simple: because I love it. Editing Wikipedia combines everything he cares about: history, accuracy, and helping others. It gives him a sense of connection to the world. Through his edits, he feels part of something bigger, a global community of volunteers who believe in free knowledge. And so, night after night, Steven continues his quiet work. The world around him changes: new trends, new apps, new distractions. But his mission remains the same. He keeps adding, improving, and correcting, one article at a time. To him, every edit is like planting a small seed of knowledge that might grow into understanding for someone else. Steven Pruitt may live an ordinary life, but his actions have left an extraordinary mark. In a digital age filled with noise and self-promotion, he reminds us of the quiet power of dedication, the idea that one person working alone can help millions learn. That is who Steven Pruitt truly is: a humble government employee by day, a passionate guardian of knowledge by night, the ordinary man behind an extraordinary mission. His achievements: the man who built Wikipedia one edit at a time. When we talk about achievements, most people think of awards, medals, or fame. But Steven Pruitt's achievements are not made of gold or glory. They are made of words, facts, and knowledge. They exist quietly inside the digital world, shaping what millions of people read every day. His work may not shine like a trophy, but it has changed the way the world learns. To truly understand how remarkable his achievements are, we need to look at the numbers. Steven has made over 6 million edits on Wikipedia. That's right, 6 million. It's almost impossible to imagine what that means. Each edit might be a small change, a correction, a rewrite, a new source, or even a whole new paragraph. But together, those edits form the foundation of the world's biggest encyclopedia. Think of it this way: if you made one Wikipedia edit every 5 minutes and you worked non-stop for 24 hours a day, it would still take you over 50 years to reach 6 million. Steven managed to do it while having a full-time job, taking care of his daily life, and sleeping like everyone else. It's a level of commitment that's hard to believe. A marathon of knowledge that has lasted for more than 2 decades. But that's not all. Steven has also written more than 35,000 original articles on Wikipedia. That means there are at least 35,000 pages about people, places, events, and ideas that exist only because of him. Each one took hours of research, writing, and editing. Each one represents something new that the world can now learn about. When you think about it, that's extraordinary. Most people, including you and me, use Wikipedia as a reader. We go there to get information, not to give it. We rely on it every day without thinking about who makes it. But Steven doesn't just read Wikipedia, he helps build it. He's not just a visitor in the house of knowledge. He's one of its main builders, laying brick after brick, line after line, until it becomes the massive library we all depend on. There are more than 6.7 million articles on the English version of Wikipedia today. Steven alone has written about 0.5% of them. That might sound small, but remember, that's one person out of billions of internet users. If you gathered every Wikipedia editor who has ever contributed, Steven's name would still stand near the very top. He's among the most active editors in history, and his influence touches nearly every corner of the site. His achievements haven't gone unnoticed. In 2017, Time magazine recognized him as one of the 25 most influential people on the internet. He was listed alongside famous figures like J.K. Rowling, Donald Trump, and Kim Kardashian. But unlike them, Steven didn't reach influence through fame or controversy. He did it through quiet dedication. Time praised him for helping to shape the world's collective knowledge. Yet despite all the recognition, Steven remains modest. When journalists ask him how he feels about his record-breaking numbers, he usually smiles and says something simple like, "It's not really about numbers. It's about making information better for everyone." That humility is part of what makes his story so powerful. Every edit Steven makes improves Wikipedia for someone. Maybe for a student in India, a journalist in Africa, or a teacher in Brazil. His work doesn't just stay online, it ripples across the world, shaping how people understand history, science, and culture. Imagine how many school reports, research papers, or personal discoveries have begun with one of Steven's articles. His edits may be digital, but their impact is real and global. His achievements are also a story of consistency. Many people start big projects with excitement, but give up after a while. Steven never stopped. Since 2004, he has been editing almost every single day. Whether it's a weekday or a weekend, whether he's tired or busy, he still finds time to contribute. That level of discipline is what turns ordinary effort into something extraordinary. But perhaps what's most impressive is that Steven has done all of this as a volunteer. He doesn't earn a salary from Wikipedia. He doesn't get paid per article or per edit. Every single contribution comes from his free time and his love of learning. In a world where people are often motivated by money or recognition, Steven shows us another way, that passion itself can be the greatest reward, and his passion is contagious. Many young editors have said they were inspired to join Wikipedia because of him. They saw his name appear again and again in edit histories, and they realized that one person could truly make a difference. In that sense, Steven hasn't just built articles, he's built a community of learners and volunteers who continue his mission. His favorite subjects to write about include history, art, and especially biographies of underrepresented people, individuals who made contributions to society but were forgotten over time. He once said that he wants to make sure that everyone who deserves a place in history gets one. Through his writing, he gives voice to the voiceless and brings balance to the record of human achievement. Even his small edits matter. A fixed date prevents misinformation. A corrected quote saves a misunderstanding. A new reference adds credibility. In an age when fake news spreads fast, Steven's careful, fact-based editing helps keep Wikipedia trustworthy. His precision and dedication make him not just a writer, but a protector of truth. If you were to measure his achievements not by numbers but by impact, you could say that Steven has helped millions, maybe even billions, of people learn something they didn't know before. And the amazing part is that he continues to do it. As of today, he still edits Wikipedia daily, quietly adding, improving, and maintaining the articles we all use. Think about how many times you've opened Wikipedia, maybe to look up a word, a country, a famous person, or a historical event. There's a good chance that one of those pages was touched, improved, or even written by Steven Pruitt. His fingerprints are everywhere on the Internet's library, even if his name rarely appears on the front page. Steven's story is proof that greatness doesn't always wear a spotlight. Sometimes it sits behind a keyboard, working silently while the rest of the world benefits. His 6 million edits and 35,000 articles aren't just statistics. They're a legacy of knowledge, patience, and love for humanity. He reminds us that true achievement isn't about being seen. It's about making a difference that lasts one word, one sentence, one article at a time. And that's exactly what Steven Pruitt has done. Why he does it. The heart behind the edits. Every great story begins with a why. For Steven Pruitt, that why is simple yet powerful. He believes knowledge should be free for everyone. That single belief has guided almost every decision he's made as a Wikipedia editor. It's the reason he spends hours after work researching, writing, and improving articles. It's the reason he continues to edit even when no one is watching, no one is paying him, and few people even know his name. His motivation doesn't come from fame or fortune. It comes from his heart. Steven grew up in a family that valued learning. His parents encouraged curiosity, reading, and creativity. His father was a retired naval officer, and his mother, Alla Pruitt, was a Russian opera singer. From a young age, Steven's home was filled with books and music, history on one shelf, classical scores on another. That unique mix of discipline and art shaped the way he saw the world. He learned that learning isn't just something you do in school. It's a lifelong adventure. Even as a little boy, Steven was drawn to the past. He would spend hours reading history books, especially about ancient empires and great explorers. He loved discovering how one small event could change the entire course of history. For him, the past wasn't just about dates and names, it was about people, ideas, and lessons that still mattered today. That love of history became a foundation that would later make him one of Wikipedia's greatest contributors. When Steven first discovered Wikipedia in the early 2000s, he was fascinated. It was like walking into the biggest library in the world, one that never closed, never charged money, and welcomed everyone. But what amazed him most wasn't just the information. It was the idea that anyone could help build it. Anyone could edit, add, or improve. It was an open door to share knowledge freely, without borders or restrictions. Steven realized something important. Knowledge shouldn't belong only to universities, libraries, or the rich. It should belong to everyone. A student in a small village in Africa, a teenager in Asia, or a teacher in Latin America should all have the same opportunity to learn as someone in New York or London. That belief became the center of his life's mission. He once said, "Information shouldn't be a privilege, it should be a right." That's why, after finishing his daily work at the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Office, Steven doesn't rest. He opens his computer and starts editing Wikipedia, not for himself, but for everyone else. Each time he writes an article, he thinks about the people who will read it: a curious child, a hardworking student, a lifelong learner. He imagines how a single paragraph could spark someone's curiosity, inspire their dreams, or even change their life. For Steven, editing Wikipedia is more than just writing. It's teaching. It's sharing. It's giving back to the world in the most generous way possible, by sharing what he knows and helping others find what they want to know. Every edit he makes is an act of kindness, a small piece of a much bigger dream, a world where knowledge connects us all. Another part of his motivation comes from his deep love of fairness. As a historian at heart, Steven knows that history has often been unfair. Many important people, especially women and people from minority backgrounds, were forgotten, ignored, or erased from textbooks. He decided to change that. One of his long-term goals has been to write about the unsung heroes of history, the scientists, artists, teachers, and thinkers who made a difference but never received recognition. He has written hundreds of biographies about women who were left out of traditional encyclopedias. He believes that everyone deserves to be remembered, and that by sharing their stories, we can make history more honest and complete. To him, this isn't just editing, it's a kind of justice. It's giving a voice to those who never had one. His edits reflect his values: respect, curiosity, and truth. He researches carefully before making any change. He checks sources, reads multiple references, and ensures accuracy. To Steven, it's not about being fast, it's about being right. In an online world full of misinformation, he feels responsible for keeping Wikipedia reliable and trustworthy. "Accuracy is the soul of knowledge," he once said, and that's exactly how he works. What's even more touching is how humble he remains. Despite being one of the most influential editors on Wikipedia, Steven still sees himself as part of a team, a community of volunteers who share the same dream. He often says, "Wikipedia isn't about me, it's about us." It's about people who believe in knowledge, that humility keeps him grounded. It reminds him that the mission is bigger than one person. His passion for learning and helping others has earned him quiet respect from people around the world. Teachers use his articles in classrooms. Students rely on his edits for their assignments. And yet, Steven never expects gratitude or applause. The joy of knowing that his words are helping someone learn something new is reward enough. Imagine how fulfilling it must be to know that your work, your free, voluntary work, is making life easier for millions of strangers. Steven doesn't need fame because he already has purpose, and purpose is far more powerful than recognition. There's also something deeply beautiful about the way he balances his two worlds. During the day, he handles official documents for the government, protecting and preserving records of the past. At night, he contributes to the preservation of global knowledge online. Both roles are about history, memory, and truth. Both are about keeping information alive. So why does Steven Pruitt do it? Because he loves learning. Because he believes in equality. Because he wants to make sure that no one, anywhere, is denied the chance to discover something new. His motivation is simple but strong, to give knowledge to those who seek it. And maybe that's what makes him so special. In a world where people compete for attention, Steven quietly gives his time to help others grow. His story reminds us that passion and generosity can be more powerful than money or fame. He doesn't need the world to remember his name. He just wants the world to keep learning. For Steven, every edit is a gift, every article is a bridge, and every fact is a step toward a wiser, more connected world. He may not be a celebrity, but his impact is everywhere, in classrooms, libraries, and on every screen where someone opens Wikipedia to learn something new. That is why he does it, because he truly believes that knowledge belongs to everyone. And that simple belief has made him one of the greatest silent heroes of the internet. His special mission, giving a voice to the forgotten women of history. Every hero has a mission, something that drives them beyond ordinary goals. For Steven Pruitt, that mission is both powerful and deeply human. He isn't just editing Wikipedia to collect numbers or break records. He's doing it to bring fairness to knowledge, to make sure that history remembers everyone, not just the famous, the powerful, or the privileged. And one of the most meaningful parts of his mission is to shine a light on the forgotten women of history, the countless women who made important contributions, but were ignored, overlooked, or erased from the story. When Steven first began editing Wikipedia, he noticed something that bothered him. The majority of articles were about men, male scientists, male artists, male leaders, male inventors. Women were missing. Even when they had achieved incredible things, their stories were often hidden, shortened, or not written at all. This wasn't because women didn't contribute to history, they absolutely did, but because society hadn't valued their achievements equally. Wikipedia is supposed to be a mirror of human knowledge, but as Steven saw it, that mirror was incomplete. It reflected only part of the truth. If half of humanity was underrepresented, how could Wikipedia call itself the world's encyclopedia? That realization became a turning point for him. He decided to take action. He made it one of his personal goals to write about women who had been left out of history, scientists who made discoveries but were never credited, artists whose work was forgotten, teachers who inspired generations but never became famous. He wanted to correct the imbalance and help future generations see a more accurate, equal picture of the world. One of his favorite things to do is find these stories, often hidden in dusty archives or small newspaper mentions, and bring them back to life. He searches through libraries, historical databases, and old journals to gather information about women who changed the world quietly. Then, he writes about them in clear, respectful language so that their names and achievements will finally appear where they belong, in the world's largest encyclopedia. For Steven, each article about a forgotten woman is more than just a page. It's a small act of justice. It's like saying to history, "Look again. You missed someone," he once said in an interview. "Every time I write about a woman who was overlooked, I feel like I'm helping to make the record right." This mission also connects to a larger problem: gender bias on the internet. Studies have shown that Wikipedia, like much of the internet, has far fewer articles about women than men. The imbalance isn't intentional, but it reflects a larger pattern in society, where men's stories are told more often, while women's stories are left out. Steven wants to change that. He believes that every person, regardless of gender, deserves to be remembered for what they achieved. Through his writing, he's helping to close that gap, one article at a time. Thanks to editors like Steven, the number of biographies about women on Wikipedia has been steadily growing. Each new page is a reminder that women have always been part of history. They just haven't always been written about. Some of the women Steven has written about include early scientists, mathematicians, educators, and pioneers in art and literature. Many of them lived during times when women weren't given equal opportunities, yet they still managed to make a difference. Steven finds those stories especially powerful. He believes that by sharing them, young girls and women today can see what's possible and feel inspired to follow their own dreams. What makes this mission even more inspiring is how personal it feels to him. Growing up with a mother who was an opera singer, Steven saw firsthand how talented and hard-working women could be, even when society didn't always recognize them. His mother's strength, creativity, and discipline became a model for how he views women in general, as capable, intelligent, and worthy of respect. In many ways, his work on Wikipedia honors not only the women of history, but also the women in his own life who have shaped him. Steven's efforts have gained attention from other editors and readers around the world. Many have joined him in this mission, inspired by his example. There's now a growing community of editors, both men and women, who are dedicated to improving representation on Wikipedia. They call it closing the gender gap. Steven may not be leading a movement with banners and slogans, but his quiet dedication has sparked real change. Imagine how different the world will be because of this work. A young student doing research for a school project might find an article Steven wrote about a female scientist and feel inspired to become one herself. A reader curious about art history might discover a forgotten female painter and realize that women have been shaping culture all along. Every article he writes creates a ripple that spreads knowledge, inspiration, and equality. Steven once said, "History is a living thing. It grows as we learn more. If we don't include everyone, we're only telling half the story." That simple sentence captures everything he stands for. His mission isn't just about editing Wikipedia, it's about reshaping how we understand the past and, by doing so, influencing the future. The beauty of his mission lies in its humility. He doesn't write these articles to be praised or celebrated. He writes them because he believes they should exist, because someone should tell these stories, because every name that history forgot deserves to be remembered. And in doing so, Steven Pruitt has become more than just a Wikipedia editor. He's become a historian of fairness, a champion of inclusion, and a voice for the silent half of history. His work reminds us that progress doesn't always come from speeches or protests. Sometimes it comes from quiet, persistent effort. From the simple act of writing one more story, one more paragraph, one more name that might otherwise have been lost. Steven's special mission teaches us something profound, that equality doesn't start with big revolutions. It starts with awareness, with choosing to see what others have ignored. It starts with one person deciding that fairness matters. Through his edits, he's helping to build not just an encyclopedia, but a better version of human memory, one that remembers everyone equally. And maybe that's the greatest gift Steven Pruitt has given the world, the chance to learn, to understand, and to remember together. Recognition and humility, the quiet star of the Internet. In 2017, something unexpected happened to Steven Pruitt. Out of millions of people on the Internet, his name appeared on one of the world's most famous lists, Time magazine's 25 most influential people on the Internet. It was the same list that included celebrities, politicians, and global influencers. There, among names like J.K. Rowling and Kim Kardashian, was Steven Pruitt, a quiet man from Virginia who had never sought fame, wealth, or attention. The editors at Time described him as someone who has shaped the world's collective knowledge. They recognized that his work on Wikipedia, over 6 million edits and tens of thousands of articles, had influenced how millions of people learn and think every day. Without intending to, Steven had become one of the most powerful figures in the online world, not through posts or popularity, but through purpose. For most people, such recognition would have been life-changing. They might have used it to build a public profile, give interviews, or become a social media personality. But Steven was different. He smiled when he heard the news, thanked the people who mentioned him, and then went right back to editing Wikipedia, just as he had the night before. Fame didn't change him. It simply confirmed that what he had been doing all along truly mattered. He once said, "Being recognized is nice, but I didn't do this for attention. I do it because I love knowledge." Those words perfectly capture who he is. To Steven, recognition is not the goal. It's just a side effect of doing something meaningful. Even after appearing in Time magazine, his life stayed exactly the same. He didn't move to a new house or buy anything extravagant. He didn't start giving motivational speeches or create a YouTube channel. He simply kept living the quiet, disciplined life that allowed him to focus on his mission. Every morning, he still wakes up early to go to his job at the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Office. He still takes public transportation, eats simple meals, and spends time with his parents. And every evening he still sits down at his computer, logs into Wikipedia under his username Ser Amantio di Nicolao, and begins his quiet work. For Steven, editing Wikipedia has become a part of who he is, as natural as breathing. He usually spends 3 to 4 hours a day editing, sometimes more on weekends. It's not a burden to him, it's a joy. He describes it as relaxing, even therapeutic. While others unwind by watching TV or playing games, Steven finds peace in words, in organizing facts, polishing sentences, and adding pieces to the puzzle of human knowledge. He has a deep sense of discipline. If there's an article that needs improvement, he won't rest until it's right. If he finds a small error, he fixes it immediately. That kind of dedication is rare, especially in an age when attention moves quickly from one thing to another. Steven's patience and persistence show that real impact comes from steady effort, not from noise. What's even more admirable is that he doesn't let numbers define his success. People often mention his 6 million edits or his tens of thousands of articles, but to Steven, every edit counts the same. If one small edit helps make information clearer for someone, he says, then it's worth doing. He values quality over fame and truth over recognition. Those who know him personally describe him as kind, modest, and funny. He doesn't talk much about his achievements unless someone asks. In fact, many of his coworkers didn't even know he was a famous Wikipedia editor until they read about him online. When they asked him about it, he simply shrugged and said, "Yeah, that's me," as if it were nothing extraordinary. That humility is one of his greatest qualities. He doesn't see himself as a hero or a celebrity. He sees himself as a volunteer, one of many people around the world working to make knowledge accessible to everyone. He often reminds others that Wikipedia is built by a community, not individuals. "I'm just one editor among thousands," he says. "We all play a part." His modesty reflects his values. He believes that knowledge should never be about ego or ownership. It should be shared freely, improved collectively, and used responsibly. That belief keeps him grounded, even when others call him a legend. When journalists visit him, they're often surprised by how ordinary his home and lifestyle are. No expensive furniture, no giant screens, no fancy workspace, just a simple desk, a laptop, and shelves full of books. Those books, filled with history and stories, are his greatest treasures. They feed his curiosity and keep his passion alive. Even after years of recognition, Steven's daily routine hasn't changed much. He still works his regular government job, still edits every evening, and still contributes with the same energy he had when he started in 2004. His consistency is what truly defines him. He once joked, "The only thing fame changed is that now people sometimes spell my name right." That humor, gentle and self-aware, shows how little he cares for attention. What matters to him is that Wikipedia keeps growing, that people continue to learn, question, and explore. And indeed, they do. Because of him and others like him, millions of readers have access to accurate, well-researched information every single day. That, to Steven, is reward enough. In a world where many chase fame and success, Steven Pruitt stands as a rare example of humility. His recognition came not from shouting the loudest, but from working the longest. His influence grew not because of how many people knew his name, but because of how many people benefited from his work. He reminds us that true greatness doesn't require applause. Sometimes the most extraordinary people are the ones who live the simplest lives, those who give quietly, serve sincerely, and let their work speak for itself. Steven's story teaches us a timeless lesson. You don't need to be seen to make a difference. You just need to care. The lesson: how small actions change the world. Every story teaches us something. And the story of Steven Pruitt is one of the most inspiring lessons of our time. It reminds us that you don't need to be rich, powerful, or famous to make a big difference in the world. You don't need millions of followers or a huge stage. All you need is a heart that cares, a mind that stays curious, and the courage to do something, no matter how small, again and again. Steven's life shows us the quiet power of consistency. While many people chase big dreams that fade after a few months, he has spent over 20 years doing one simple thing: editing Wikipedia. It's not glamorous. It doesn't earn him money. It doesn't even bring public attention. But he does it because he believes that sharing knowledge makes the world a little brighter, one sentence at a time. Think about it. Most people only use Wikipedia. They visit it when they need an answer. They read what's written, and then they leave. But Steven decided to build it. He turned his love for learning into an act of service. While others scroll through social media, he spends hours improving articles so that strangers, people he will never meet, can understand something new. That is true generosity, not giving money, but giving time, not seeking recognition, but spreading understanding. In his quiet way, Steven has proven that the greatest impact often comes from the simplest actions. His story also challenges how we think about success. Society often tells us that success means wealth, fame, or power. But Steven's success cannot be measured by bank accounts or headlines. His success lives in the millions of readers who have learned something because of his edits. It lives in every student who found reliable information for a project, every teacher who used Wikipedia in class, and every person who gained knowledge because he cared enough to write it down. One of the most beautiful parts of his story is how normal he is. He's not a billionaire changing the world with technology or money. He's a man with a regular job, living in a modest home, doing something extraordinary with his free time. He proves that greatness doesn't depend on status, it depends on purpose. Steven's work also teaches us patience. In a world obsessed with speed and instant rewards, his slow and steady approach is refreshing. He reminds us that real change takes time. One edit by itself might not seem important, but 6 million edits? That's the result of doing one small thing over and over again for years. Each action builds on the one before it, creating something lasting and meaningful. That's a lesson for all of us. Whatever your dream is, to write, to teach, to create, to help others, it doesn't have to start big. What matters is that you start and that you keep going. Every effort counts. Every step adds up. Steven's consistency also reflects something deeper: faith in humanity. He believes that by giving knowledge freely, people will use it to make better choices, to grow wiser, and to understand one another. In a time when misinformation spreads easily, his careful work stands as a quiet act of hope. Each edit he makes is a defense of truth and a gift to the future. And perhaps the most inspiring thing about Steven is his humility. Despite being named one of Time magazine's 25 most influential people on the internet, he continues to live a simple, peaceful life. He doesn't see himself as a hero. To him, he's just one person doing what he loves, editing, learning, and helping others learn. That humility makes his story even more powerful because it shows that real heroes don't need attention to make an impact. When we look at Steven's journey, we can see a reflection of what's possible for all of us. You might not be a Wikipedia editor, but you can still share what you know, help someone learn, or contribute something valuable in your own way. The internet and the world becomes better every time someone chooses to add, not take away, to build, not destroy, to share, not hoard. Imagine if more people followed Steven's example, if everyone gave a few hours each week to something meaningful, something that helps others. The world would be full of small acts of kindness that together would create enormous change. That's the real message of his life. Small actions, done with love and consistency, can change the world. So, the next time you open Wikipedia and read an article, think of Steven Pruitt, the silent hero behind the screen. Remember that someone cared enough to write that information for you. Someone believed that you deserved to know. And maybe, just maybe, his story will inspire you to find your own way to give back, to teach, to write, to create, to build, whatever it is that adds a little more light to the world. Steven's life is proof that even in the digital age, where so much feels fast and temporary, simple human effort still matters. His quiet persistence reminds us that every person has the power to leave a mark, not by shouting, but by showing up again and again with purpose. You don't need to be famous to be great. You don't need to be rich to make a difference. You just need to care and to keep caring. That is the lesson Steven Pruitt gives to all of us, that one ordinary person with steady hands and a generous heart can help the whole world learn. The silent hero of the internet. And that, dear listeners, is the story of Steven Pruitt, the silent hero of the internet. A man who, without fame, money, or glory, has changed the way millions of people learn every single day. He didn't build a company, release a product, or create a new technology. Instead, he built something far greater, a living library of human knowledge that belongs to everyone. Through his quiet dedication, Steven has shown us what true greatness looks like. It's not about being loud, it's not about being seen, and it's not about being celebrated. It's about doing what's right, even when no one is watching. It's about giving your time, your effort, and your heart to something that makes the world better. Every article he has written, every edit he has made, is a small gift to humanity. And together, those small gifts have become one of the most powerful collections of knowledge in human history. Wikipedia. Millions of students, teachers, researchers, and curious minds around the world have learned something new because of him. That's a legacy that no award or headline can ever match. Steven's story reminds us that behind every great thing on the internet, every article, every video, every useful piece of information, there are real people who care. People who give their time to teach, to share, and to help others grow. The internet can often feel noisy and shallow, but people like Steven prove that it can also be a place of kindness, generosity, and purpose. He teaches us that we all have the power to make a difference. You don't need to be rich or famous. You don't need millions of followers. You just need to care enough to contribute, to add your little piece of knowledge, creativity, or goodness to the world. Whether it's writing, teaching, volunteering, or simply helping someone learn, every small effort counts. So, the next time you search something on Wikipedia, pause for a moment and think of the hands that built it. Think of Steven Pruitt, spending his evenings and weekends quietly editing, writing, and improving, not for recognition, but for the simple joy of helping others learn. He doesn't ask for applause. He just wants the world to keep reading, keep learning, and keep growing. If his story touched your heart today, let it inspire you to give back in your own way. Maybe you can share what you know, teach someone a skill, correct a mistake, or create something useful for others. You never know how far your small action might reach. As Steven has proven, even one person can change the world, one thoughtful step at a time. Let's all take a lesson from this humble man, the one who lives a simple life, yet leaves behind an extraordinary legacy. Steven Pruitt is not just a Wikipedia editor. He is a reminder that true heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they wear headphones, sit at a desk, and quietly make the world a smarter place. Thank you for listening to this inspiring story of Steven Pruitt, the silent hero of the internet. And before you go, here's your friendly reminder. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Because every time you do, you help this channel read and learn English, reach more learners, and spread more stories that educate, inspire, and connect us all. Together, let's keep reading, keep learning, and keep celebrating the quiet heroes who make our world a little brighter every day.